I'll continue to take a look at a few items from the DEF 14 A form that they filed in this year. But before I do that, I'm going to take a look at one more thing about the S3 statement that they filed, and that's for up to $500 million of additional funding that they're going to get somehow. And here is something that they filed to the Security and Exchange Commission on March 2nd of 2026. And they're asking, they request that the effectiveness of the above caption registration statement, that's the S3, be accelerated so that it may become effective on Thursday, March 5th, 2026 at 3 p.m. So for some reason, they want to make sure that the S3 becomes effective. And so that this is signed by Thomas Healy. They sent this to the Security and Exchange Commission, and they respond the following day saying that this is to advise you that we have not reviewed and will not review your registration statement. Please refer to Rules 460 and 461 regarding requests for acceleration. We remind you that the company and its management are responsible for the accuracy and adequacy of their disclosures, notwithstanding any review, comments, action, or absence of action by the staff. I'm going to go back one moment. And it's referencing Venison and Elkins LLP with any questions regarding the request for acceleration. And this company was involved with the SPAC, taking Shell and merging it with HYLN and putting it on the open markets. So the Security and Exchange Commission says we have not reviewed, we're not going to review this acceleration thing. And that was filed the day after Thomas Healy posted that to the Security and Exchange Commission. And what do you know is on March 5th at 3 p.m., the S3 statement is effective. So that wasn't really necessary, but for some reason they wanted it to get it out by that date. And I'm assuming is so they can include it as a proposal item for the this year's proxy that people will vote on in May of 2026. So getting additional funding is extremely important to them because they don't want to wait another year, because another year they'll be down to most likely less than $100 million left in cash. Going back to the proxy statement, under what we do, it says pay per performance with 78% of our CEO target total pay opportunity being performance-based at-risk compensation. In the previous year's proxy statement, the pay for performance was 76%. So they've increased Thomas Healy's at-risk compensation by 2%. And again, at-risk compensation is they're going to give him stock, and if he meets certain performance objectives, he'll be rewarded for that. But as we've seen, HYLN has just been delaying and delaying and delaying. So they're trying to provide some incentive, and it's just a 2% bump. Because this salary has stayed the same between last year and this year, just comparing the two proxy statements. So they're trying to get him to do stuff, like sell some Carno generators. And here's where things get more interesting. The vesting of RSUs is tied to achievement of certain stock price thresholds being met or exceeded, as well as time-based restrictions. So they're trying to get people to perform at HYLN. The 2025 award of performance-based restrictive stock units are subject to the achievement of time-based and performance-based thresholds. The named executive officers will meet the performance-based threshold if the company maintains an average closing stock price over a 100 calendar day period, or 90 calendar days if they just wait till the very end of this window, which is the end of 2027, for one share of common stock at or in excess of the price thresholds below. And they list ranges: $4, $5, and $6. And for $4, it's 20% of the target RSUs. So if you look at Thomas Healy's rewards, it's like 1.4 million. And at the $4 mark, he'll get rewarded by having close to 300,000 shares vest. So if you take this 1.4 million and multiply it by 20%, you get the number shown in the $4 mark. Now, if the stock price goes up to $5, he gets rewarded 30% of the target RSUs. And at $6, it's 50%. So I'm seeing that the $6 is kind of like a stretch goal. So if I were to speculate, I would say that they want, for some reason, to get that price up to $4 a share or $5 a share. And that's what I kind of see, again, speculating, realistically happening. But the other problem is that this window is from February 18th, 2025, all the way to the end of 2027. So at worst, this could drag on to the last, September of 2027. At the second worst, it would be probably June or July of 2027, where it hits one of these marks and it needs to stay around that. But I'm just seeing downward stock price pressure based on proposal 4, which is adding 8 million shares to the pool to award directors, executive officers, as well as employees, and additional downward pressure from issuing debt. Upward pressure is military contracts, getting that final UL certification, and getting up to 200 kilowatts. And just reading from the annual report, they could be delivering up to 9 additional Carnot cores to the Office of Naval Research or the Navy. But is that going to be enough to push it up to $4 a share by, like, for example, the end of 2026? I'm kind of doubtful of that. Unless there's some unknown event that the public doesn't know about. That another option that they can do is to hype something up to get people to want to buy highly on shares, and that's going to cause the price to go up. Or they can buy back shares, but I don't see them doing that, because that would be just so messed up. Or another thing that they could do is get insiders to buy lots of shares, and that would also cause the price to go up. Or heaven forbid, they sell additional Carnot units. And I don't know which combination of those things would happen, because they may not be able to get funding. That's not guaranteed. I see them adding additional 8 million shares to the pool, because you have Thomas Healy and Coley Capital. They have 25% of the say of what goes on in the company. I see that happening to keep people in seats. Continuing on, the compensation committee, they're granting this time-based equity to executive officers to further align the interest of executive officers with those of the company's stakeholders by linking a component of compensation directly to HYLN stock price. And this is something that Rusty the Kid mentioned. Established a strong incentive for the executive officers to remain with the company over the long term. So they just want people to stay at HYLN to finish up the job. And there's mention about Mr. Mook and his retention grant of valued at $1 million, and it's vesting. The award was granted to encourage Mr. Mook continued service and retention, recognizing his critical leadership in the development of the Carnot power module since its inception, as well as his extensive knowledge of key design elements and additive manufacturing processes. Then I don't, it starts mentioning change of control, and I don't, change of control is like someone acquiring HYLN, and I don't know what's going to happen if that happens. Then there's also mention of, in the event of a specific type of change in our capital structure, such as a stock split, reverse stock split. That's another thing that could happen. They could do a reverse stock split of HYLN stock to boost the stock price up to $4 to $6 a share. I wouldn't put it past them. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's another thing that could happen. This is just so speculative. And then they mentioned that the board need not take the same action or actions with respect to all awards or portion thereof with respect to all participants, in particular with respect to the named executive officers, each of whom entered into an amended and restated change in control agreement on February 24th, 2026. So they signed an updated change in control agreement, which outlines certain things that may or may not happen if someone decides to buy HYLN, or HYLN reverse merges into them. I don't know who it is or who it could be. And there is another clause with golden parachute payments. The ability of the company to obtain a deduction for future payments under the 2024 plan could also be limited by the golden parachute rules of Section 280G of the code, which prevent the deductibility of certain excess parachute payments made in connection with a change in control of employer corporation. So if some entity buys HYLN, I guess Healy gets a nice payment, which is referred to as a golden parachute. And this is talking about the ability for the company to obtain a deduction of future payments from an excess parachute payment. So Healy's safe. There is also a mention of Sidoli and Company. They paid them $7,500 this year for proxy solicitation for this upcoming meeting. In the previous year, they paid Sidoli and Company $10,000, so that's down by $2,500. And Sidoli and Company, that's attached. They're associated with a I think it's TPG Capital Inc. or something like that, which is some Texas-based capital private equity kind of company thing. Don't quote me on that though. But that's it for this video. In the next video, actually, I made changes to my approach in investing in HYLN, so I'll go over that in the next video. And then there's been some updates to the patent case. It's just a lot of lawyers throwing paper at each other and drama that I'll be going with the following video after that one. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.